And we're back. I'm Vanessa Lagoa, and you're watching Life Rewritten on Now Media Television. Welcome back to Life Rewritten. If you're loving what you're watching, don't miss a moment of Life Rewritten or any of your Now Media TV favorite shows. You can download the free app on nowmedia.tv and watch us in English and Spanish 24/7. If you prefer to listen, you can listen to our podcast version, which is always streaming on Now Media TV. We're back with Christopher Nudo from NTegrity Law. And Chris, let's continue the conversation about how you lead from a spiritual sense in your community, in your church, and even in your family. We know that in your business, that's how you're leading, but I'm really interested in sharing with our viewers, how you give back in your community.
Oh, what a great question. I feel like Vanessa, you're doing a great job here. The best ways to give back in the community and the ways that I choose to do it. First of all, I love sponsorships. I love opportunities. We have the local high schools, the one that I happen to go to, and then it has a partner school, Hersey High School and Prospect High School locally here. They have a Christian organization for their students, and they have a golf outing and other things. It's called Young Life. And I think it's all over the country, honestly, but this is the Young Life chapter. And I love just being a sponsor of that, so that we are pouring into these young people who are in a secular school environment, in a worldly school environment, but yet they're trying to carry the torch for Christ. And I really, that makes my heart feel good. I also love donor advised funds. And donor advised funds, you can find them all over from Schwab to Fidelity. But I happen to use an organization called National Christian Foundation. And a donor advised fund is just your way of taking what you can give back to the Lord and donating it to these funds. And then you can direct that money to whoever you want, whether it would be a Samaritan's Purse or a Tunnel to Towers or even the Anti-Cruelty Society, if you're all about dogs. While it's not or animals, I suppose, it's not really a Christian organization, but sometimes demonstrating Christ is not about just going hand in hand with other Christian organizations. I love working with the Muslim community. I love working with the LGBTQ, I'm going to get that wrong, community. I love working with all facets of people, because at the end of the day, I don't want to judge people for who they are, lest they will judge me for who I am. And I am, like I've said, not a perfect person by any extreme, lots of flaws. And so I just love paying it forward to just about everyone, from those who are extremely successful, who I can just kind of share humble times with them, to those who are having very difficult times and life has dealt them a very hard card. Just being there to support them, to come alongside them and do what I can, what I've been called to be there for them.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're really doing that in your time and in your donations and in all different facets. You're really helping people. And I think that when people feel like you are living your life with integrity, and when people feel like you are leading with intention, they're going to be so much more drawn to working with you in a professional setting as well. Um, you're talking about working with different religions and people with maybe a different backgrounds than you. And I think that's really important because families are made up of all different types of even in certain families, small families, people have different beliefs around their faith, around their, just the way that they want to live their lives. And so when people are working with you, planning for the future, I think that there's this expectation that you can sort of be the voice of reason because you're not coming from you're not taking even though you're integrating your own faith into your company, you're not playing the Lord and you're simply trying to lead families, which I think is very impactful. It's you're building trust with people when they see that you're in a community working with people that might not look like you or think like you or act like you. I think that that's what how families are made up now. So you're really kind of embracing everybody.
That's
And
right.
yeah.
You know, one of the things that our natural bents are towards is judging those who are not like us.
Mm,
Guilty as charged. And, one of the things that I work very hard at, and the Lord gives me great strength with, is as soon as somebody there's somebody around me, whether during work or just out in the world, is different than I am and espounds different values, different beliefs. I really take that to the Lord and I say, Lord, help me love this person where they're at. Because my natural bent, the natural Chris, comes out and wants to be like, oh, can you believe that person? They're a bit wacky. And I have such shame in that when I don't get that under control. Because you know what? They woke up this morning by opening their eyes and rolling over in bed and climbing out of bed, no different than I did. And it's really taking the time to see the person for who they are, understanding why they are and why they ascribe to who they are the way they are, and then loving them the way they are. Let's not try and change them. Let's
yes.
try and meet them where they're at. And the more we can do that as a person, as a society, one on one, the more community we can build.
Right.
And I always love the stories. I have a pretty significant Muslim community of clients, and I used to always ask them, "Why me? I'm like the Jesus guy. I'm the Bible versed guy on the website. And they would always say the same thing. They go, well, Chris, because of who you are and the way you are very open about who you are, we trust you.
Well,
And,
because you're real and you're relatable and you're speaking your truth.
right,
And it would be a lot easier for you to, well, not easier. It would, I think it's more common for people to say what they think people want to hear rather than to lead authentically. And
correct.
it's a lot easier to live your life when you're authentic because you're not trying to remember things, what should I be saying? And you're putting it out there and you're not ashamed or embarrassed or fearful of putting out this is who I am and this is what's important to me and this is how I lead. And I think people are very drawn to people who lead that way.
Yeah.
You're not just saying what you think that they want to hear. And that is why I think people from different backgrounds are drawn to you.
I think the more we can put down the various masks that we like to wear, and please don't take from this that I don't have my masks. I do. I can put them up when, my
Absolutely.
defenses go up. But the more we put them down and just let people see the Lord through us,
Yeah.
the more the Lord draws us all together as a community.
And like you said, we all wake up the very same way every day.
That's right.
Ultimately, I mean, in your practice, I don't want to say that you're catastrophe or death centered, but ultimately you're planning for those
Tragic
inevitable
centered for sure.
right, for the tragedies. And you know, we all feel the same when tragedy strikes. It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter what our backgrounds are. It doesn't matter what our beliefs are, or who we love, or what color our skin is. We all feel the same. And in your practice, the way that you're helping people navigate through those feelings, that's what they're going to remember. They're going to
Mhm.
remember, hey, you know what? This tragedy happened. Mom, dad died. And instead of, this struggle, this guy came in, he sat us down, he explained this, parents had planned things for us and eased our minds. And nobody's going to remember what you believed, or what you practiced. They're just going to see how you led them through a tough time. And that's in your business and in your men's group and in your life, in your community. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said or did.
Absolutely. 100% Vanessa.
Yeah. And I think that, you and I have spoken before about it. One of the very first things I taught all of my children was the definition of integrity. I mean,
Mm.
almost immediately from the time that they could talk, I was like drilling it into their vocabulary. And while they at the time they were reciting words, they didn't quite understand them. Now, my youngest is 7, my oldest is going to be 20, and they live their lives, they make mistakes just as you and I do. And I usually bring it all back to what's the definition of integrity?
Yep.
Were you acting with integrity? Were you, I've told my children that they should picture me sitting on their shoulder when they go out into the world. And, would you do that? Would you do or say what you're doing if I was sitting on your shoulder watching? And I think for you, you bring in that sense of would the Lord, what would Jesus do? What would the Lord do? How would, you know, he want you to be living your life? And you're bringing that into practice. You're not,
What would you do if your life was being broadcast on the billboard?
yes. Yeah, that's a tough question. That's a powerful question because like you said, I think we all wear masks and I think that's okay sometimes, but yeah, if we were living authentically all the time, that's a great question, Chris, because or a good thought really to put, how would you live your life as you're living it if it was broadcast?
It,
And not just broadcast for, short clips that we film and put onto social media, but in entirety,
yeah, live streaming on the billboard on the highway. Would you make the decisions you make all the time? And
Wow.
I think about that a lot as I'm making decisions, and still doesn't make it. Still doesn't. I still make wrong decisions sometimes, but I
You know,
do. I do
we're
think
all going
about
to
it.
make we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to make poor decisions at times in our lives. And I think that it's the bounce back. It's the comeback
That's
after the
right.
mistake. Are you learning from your mistakes? Are you repeating mistakes? Because when you're repeating your mistakes over and over again, that becomes your character. And that's,
Right.
your moral compass might need a little readjusting. But when you are living almost like living under that microscope, like you're saying, would you be living as you're living today? And, I admire your ability to take your faith and integrate it into every, part of your life. And I really thank you for spending the time to share how you live and lead with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here on Life Rewritten, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good day.